India's import of Russian oil drops in November to lowest level since June 2022. India's import of Russian crude oil dropped in November to its lowest level since June 2022, but the Kremlin continues to be the biggest source of oil for India, according to a monthly tracker report of a European think tank. India became the second biggest buyer of Russian crude oil since Moscow invaded Ukraine in February 2022, with purchases rising from less than 1% of the total oil imported to almost 40% of the country's total oil purchases. The rise was primarily because the Russian crude oil was available at a discount to other internationally traded oil due to the price cap and the European nations shunning purchases from Moscow. India's imports of Russian crude oil dropped by a massive 55% in November, the lowest figure since June 2022. The Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air said in its latest report. Russia remained India's top oil supplier, followed by Iraq and Saudi Arabia. China has bought 47% of Russia's crude oil exports, followed by India 37%, the European Union 6%, and Turkey 6%. CREA said without giving absolute numbers. In November, there was a 17% month on month increase in the discount on Russia's Urals grade crude oil to an average of $6.01 per barrel compared to Brent crude oil. The discount on the ESPO grade narrowed by a massive 15% and was traded at an average discount of 3.88 per dollar per barrel, while that on the so-called blend narrowed by 2% to $6.65 per barrel, it said. Russia predominantly sells ESPO and so-called grades of crude oil to India. Besides crude oil, India bought smaller quantities of coal from Russia. From December 5, 2022 until the end of November 2024, China purchased 46% of all Russia's coal exports. India 17%, Turkey 11%, South Korea 10%, and Taiwan 5%. Round off the top 5 buyers list, according to CREA. All fossil fuels are taken together, India dropped to third in the list of largest buyers of Russian fossil fuels in November, contributing 17%, 2.1 billion euro to Russia's monthly export earnings from its top 5 importers. There was a significant 22% drop in Russian revenues from crude oil exports to India in November, it said. While there was an 11% month-on-month decline in the total volume of India's imports of crude oil in November, Russian volume suffered the most, dropping by a massive 55%. India imports more than 85% of its crude oil, which is refined into fuels like petrol and diesel refineries. In an attempt to restrict funds for Russia's war machine, the group of seven G7 rich nations, the European Union and Australia put an embargo on Russian crude and introduced a $60 per barrel price cap in December 2022. Over the next 12 months, the price cap and embargo had a significant impact on revenues and forced Russia to find new markets and ways to transport its oil. Russia did this by offering deep discounts in its Urals grade crude. It has been 2 years since the imposition of the price cap. CREA estimates that in this period, the sanctions have forced Russia to drop the price of Urals by an estimated 15%. Since the sanctions, Russia has lost an estimated 14.6 billion euro in revenues from Urals grade crude exports, the report said. In the second year of sanctions, CREA estimates that sanctions impacted Russian Urals crude revenues by 10%, resulting in losses of 4 billion euro. This impact was felt heavily for the first half of 2024 when Russian revenues were hit by 2.5 billion euro. The price cap has had an impact but has failed to live up to its potential. A lack of enforcement and desire to lower the price cap has meant Russia has found a way to circumvent the cap and find new markets as time has gone by, especially in the second year of the sanctions, it said. In the first year of sanctions, Russia was losing on an average 23% of its Urals crude export revenues every month due to the price cap and embargo. This figure has fallen sharply to a mere monthly average of 9% in the second year of the cap. The impact has reduced steadily through 2024. The effect on our revenues in October was 63% lower than that in January. As Russia has built a network of shadow tankers, it can trade its oil above the cap to new markets in non-sanctioning countries, CREA added. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you everyone. Bye.